Welcome to the W Hotel and welcome to the Plateau Lounge, where I'm joined by the dapper Sean Gordon of the Globe and Mail. Sean, welcome.
Well, thank you.
And the classy man himself, Arpon Basu of LNash.com. Arpon, thanks for joining us.
So, flattery will get you everywhere. Exactly.
All right, guys, in September, we weren't even sure if we were going to have an NHL season. Of course, now we find ourselves with Stanley Cup champions. So I want to know, what was the most exciting moment for you in these playoffs, Sean?
You know what? I actually think that the best stuff was in the first round. And I'm sad to say. I mean, I think that, I guess a bit
That's
cliche.
because we were all together in the first round.
Well, I suppose. No, but like to me,
every year it's the most exciting round.
And you're right. But to me, it was like my Stanley Cup final was St. Louis versus LA in the first round. I mean, I thought that was just, that was a dynamite series. It had everything that you needed from a playoff series. And I mean, the final was good, and the conference finals were good, but it's just, to me, that was really the defining moment of this. That and the fact that Pittsburgh, who everybody thought was going to win and probably had the horses and should have done it, I mean, where were they? What happened, right? And so those were sort of that's kind of the main storyline.
Boston Bruins happened is what happened to the Pittsburgh
Penguins.
Yeah, I mean, they were. I mean, the Penguins, just quickly on that, it's just the Penguins seemed to think that they did everything right against the Bruins. They had all these scoring chances, but really, if you look at it, they didn't do everything right. They never made Tuukka Rask move. They never made the Bruins react to them. They just stayed on the periphery and didn't really do what they normally do to most teams.
Are you saying a failure of imagination is at work here, Arpon?
Far be it from me to tell the Pittsburgh Penguins how to play hockey, but that's what I saw. But to me, the highlight, I mean, considering how far the Bruins went, was their first round, that Game 7 of the first round against the Maple Leafs. And the Maple Leafs coming back against a team that the Bruins essentially demolished every other team that they faced, more or less, until the final, obviously. But, I mean, the Maple Leafs, of all teams, to come back against the Bruins from a 3-1 deficit, be up 3-1 in Game 7, and then the classic, tragic, theatrical blow-up of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Predictable. The thoroughly predictable.
And, really what Toronto fans wanted in that situation, because too much success after years of failure would have really hurt. So
baby steps, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, baby steps for the
But that was the most compelling part to me.
No shortage of surprises, like you said. The sweep of the Penguins, and then again, Chicago coming back to defeat the Red Wings. But I want to know, Arpon, were there any near heart attack moments for you in these playoffs?
Near heart attack moments. Geez, well, I mean, I just mentioned one of them. I mean, that was really, I don't think I've ever seen anything like the Bruins comeback in Game 7. Scoring 2 goals with the goalie pulled to tie it. That was really quite compelling. But having covered that Penguins-Bruins series, I mean, watching the Penguins, the psychology of the Penguins, and everything they believed in, everything they stood for, just crumbling in front of their eyes, was really compelling stuff. It was dramatic to watch that. And so, to me, it wasn't a moment per se, but it was just kind of a steady kind of stream of just collapse by the Penguins, which no one anticipated.
Right. And we all covered the first round together. Of course, there were no shortage of near heart attack moments at the Scotiabank Place. I myself nearly had one when I realized how far the arena was from the hotel I was staying at downtown. I'm only kidding, but no laughs for the Montreal Canadiens fans, who were obviously disappointed to see their team lose to the Senators in the first round. What do they need to do next year, Sean, to have a better shot at the Cup?
Well, I actually think that the good news is they're only 2 players away, right? The bad news is those 2 players are Shea Weber and Steven Stamkos.
Right.
They have a good team, but when you look at the teams that went farthest, they need an elite scorer, and they need another stud defenseman, ideally in a shutdown role. And I think that, when you look at the teams that played in the final, Boston and Chicago, they have top-end offensive talent. They have a top 5, top 10 two-way center, top 5 defensemen, and top 5 goaltending. And you know what? The Habs are they're short in a couple of those categories, and that's why it's going to be a little dicey unless they can make some moves to acquire a 40-50 goal guy.
Well, the NHL draft's around the corner. Of course, Montreal Canadiens find themselves in a different situation than last year, waiting for number 25 to have their first pick. Arpon, who should they be targeting?
Well, it's hard to say. You don't know who's going to be available. This is the crazy thing about this year, is that there's so much depth that every team is going to evaluate players differently. So, I mean, and Marc Bergevin said it himself recently, that they have no idea what's going to be there at 25. But the advantage the Canadiens have that they didn't have last year is that they have 6 picks in the first 3 rounds. 3 of them are in the second round. So I think just by sheer quantity and with the depth of this draft, they could come out with 2 or 3 really solid prospects.
Thank you both for joining us. That's our panel for today. We'll see you next week here at the W Hotel.